The following program does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or policies of the City of Oceanside, its elected officials, KOCT, its board of directors, or staff.
You're watching KOCT, the Oceanside channel. This program brought to you by the caring hands of Tri-City Medical Center.
Welcome to this edition of The Voice of Oceanside. We are going to do two shows called Passion for Pets. And this is an important subject. That's why we're doing two shows. If you have a passion for pets, you're going to want to watch both of them for obvious reasons. On the other hand, if you don't, you may want to watch to find out if it's something you're interested in, and maybe you can be part of the solution to a very important problem. And our guest for both shows is Dorothy Mccorkle. Dorothy, welcome to the Voice of Oceanside.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
And before we dig into this important topic, I know that you've been involved in this for 30 years.
Yes.
Can you tell us what got you started on this passion for pets?
Well, I always had pets when I was growing up, and then I had children and a job, and then I realized that even though I had pets, I didn't know that much about what was going on in the shelters. And yes, I had a dog, and then it lived 15 years, and then it was gone. And I had a rabbit, and I had a cat that chased the rabbit. So it was a fun time. But in Los Angeles, where I lived until about 15 years ago in Los Angeles County, I found out that there were just lots and lots of animals that were being euthanized in shelters. Some maybe because the owner brought the dog or the cat in, or maybe it was old, but they were animals also that were not treatable, or they couldn't be trained. And the numbers are just staggering with the numbers that are being put down in the shelters. And probably we have a good county in San Diego. We have good shelters operating here. But the problem still exists, and we have to start working towards some solutions.
Well, let's put a number to that problem. So what are we facing
we are
in terms
facing
of numbers?
About 46,000 animals a year coming into the shelters, into the 8 shelters that do statistical reporting, and that's practically all of the animals, and probably 80 or 90% at least. The numbers are just very bad. We're talking about nationally, we're talking for every 10,000 pets or 10,000 people that are born, there's 70,000 pets being born. Can every household have 7 pets? No. So the pets are becoming disposable, and they have been for a long time. And we need to understand that the major organizations are doing their best at this point, but they can't control the unregulated breeding.
So what those numbers are telling me, at least, is that before we even start to talk about capacity of homes for adoption and all the other issues that we're going to cover, the core of this issue is a birth issue.
Yes, it is.
It's just that has to be addressed before we get, otherwise solutions will be overwhelmed.
Right. I had a meeting with a gentleman that was a repair person that came to my house, and in the course of conversation and talking about his animals, I found out that he let his male cat and his female cat have not only 1 litter, but 3. And all of these animals were given away to other homes. And then I said, well, did you finally get them fixed? No, they ran away. So again, it's disposable pets, and disposable pets can be for many reasons. One of the major things that's happened in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years now is that the economy has changed. People have lost their homes. They've had dogs in their yard that are big dogs. They've had 2 or 3 cats, and it's been very heartsick for them to give up their animals and take them into a shelter, but they've had to do that because they've lost their homes. There's also people who have pets that are not really part of the family. They are more or less just there. Perhaps they got them for the children when the children were little, but then as the years go by, the pet is not a toy anymore. And so it's chained in the backyard, or something is done with it, or it winds up getting lost and not being found. So I think that it's a numbers business. It's simple arithmetic. We've got too many pets and not enough homes for them.
You've been dealing with people who are responsible, or maybe let's say irresponsible, with this for many years. What are some of the categories of why people let this happen? We know why the pets are doing it. It's their nature. So this comes down to the pet owner is the responsible party on this.
Yes, and I think that the problem is not in all households. There are many, many responsible pet owners who spay and neuter their pets immediately once they get the pet. That pet is spayed, and so they don't. They're not contributing to the pet overpopulation anymore. But there are issues where the shelters are killing adoptable animals because they simply are crowded. They don't have enough. There's not enough people coming in to adopt the animals. Out of this has come a large number of rescue groups, and these people are rescuing animals when they are about to be put down in the shelters, and the shelter will notify them, well, Buddy over here is going to be put down today or tomorrow. And these groups are accredited with the county, and they're mostly 501c3 organizations, and they come in and take that pet and they put it in a foster home. Sometimes they have their own locations. For example, National Cat Protection and Friends of Cats, they have shelters, their own shelters. And but the groups like SPOT, which is Saving Pets One at a Time, they rely on foster parents to take care of the cats and dogs, and they take them to adoption venues to find new owners. And so they always need help. They need volunteers, and they need help with that. But there's a large community of people like myself, and I'm very pleased to be part of that community because we're all trying to accomplish the same thing.
Well, given that there's some percentage of responsible pet owners, we still have the issue of the ones that aren't, which apparently are in the majority given these numbers.
Right.
So let's revisit that. What are some of the excuses, the common excuses that you hear for people who do not spay and neuter?
Well, the biggest one is just procrastination. The other one is attitude, that their attitude and their behavior towards their pets is not ideal. We see examples of this on television when there's a cruelty case or something, and those are usually exaggerated. Not exaggerated in terms of what they're showing, but that's not typical of the general population. It's just that people, there are so many that they can pick and choose what they want, and if they lose one, we'll put a sign out, we'll see if the animal comes back, and it doesn't happen. And so I think that probably is a major thing, plus also the attitude towards animals. Many of us have soft spots in our heart for our animals. They're part of our family. We treat them like family. We take one pet and it lives with us all its life. On the other hand, there are people who have a litter, don't know what to do with it, take it out and put the litter in a box and try and give it away, which isn't a good thing either, because the animals are not going to be fixed that are so easy to come by. And so the kids also say, well, we want a dog or we want a cat, and then they realize that mom and dad might say, well, you take care of it.
And we all know what's going to happen.
We know
with that.
what happens after that.
So you're saying there's a sort of an attitude that the spay and neuter is not a natural thing, so I'm not going to do that to my pet, or I'm going to give him one chance to reproduce before I do it?
It's more likely that it's accidental, that they wait too long. Someone says, well, we don't have time to do it, or we'll do it. There probably is some macho as far as male cats are concerned, particularly the bully dogs, and that includes Rottweilers, Chows, and Dobermans are considered bully dogs, and they're a status symbol, and they do usually fix those dogs when they first get them. So probably most of the dog bites that take place with large unaltered male dogs.
So the network out there, which we'll be talking more about after our first break, to take care of this is handicapped because they obviously can't reach out and get these animals on a timely basis. The animals have to be brought to them by the owners. What would you say to owners who are currently delaying getting their pets spayed or neutered?
I would tell them that there are resources available for reduced cost if they think that it's too expensive. There are several programs. One is the SNAP program, Spay Neuter Action Project. That's for low-income people. That's a mobile sterilization unit that goes to different venues and has animals come in, and it's a full surgery unit where the animals will be fixed. They fix anywhere from 30 to 50 a day when they have a clinic. They're a nonprofit, and they also do education, and they also have animals for adoption where someone didn't come back and pick it up, which is strange. It's their animal, they take it in to be fixed, and then they decide they don't want it. So.
Now, by the way, we should mention that during the course of both of these shows, we'll have websites and phone numbers that people can see on the screen for this.
Yes, definitely.
Is this particular option available throughout San Diego County?
Which option are you talking about?
The low income?
Oh yes, SNAP is available throughout the county. They started in Chula Vista about probably maybe 12 to 15 years ago, maybe a little longer than that. And they reduced the population so much in Chula Vista because they had started the clinics there that the city of Chula Vista started funding their clinics, and they still do. And we have maybe 2 to 4 clinics in Oceanside. All of these are funded by donations, either from the actual shelters or from the public or the foundations. And the other option.
Well, you know, we'll take our first break now. When we come back, we'll talk about those other options.
Okay, great.
Stay with us. We'll be away for about 2 minutes and be welcome back after the break.
I'm Joan Lacey, and I started Kennel Comforters. We're a group of volunteers. We're a nonprofit organization in San Diego County. Our website is kennelcomforters.com, and we sew and distribute beds to all the shelters in San Diego County. 14 shelters. We've made over 10,000 beds, but the shelters sometimes have as many as 30,000 animals a year. Shelters don't have money for beds. They don't have that kind of funding. They barely have enough money for food and medicine and to pay their staff, and so we're happy to fill a niche that a warm bed makes a pet calmer and happier and makes a better adopted pet.
Shelter dogs are the most loving, appreciative dogs that you'll ever find. This is the kind of love that you can bring home from your local shelter. Animal shelters have a lot of different kinds of cats. It's up to you what kind of cat you want to get at the animal shelter.
It's easy to gain a little weight without really noticing. The same is true for your pets. Just a couple of extra pounds on them can lead to diabetes, arthritis, and heart disease. Visiting your veterinarian is the best way to help your pets live long, healthy lives. Go to petfit.com to learn more, because a little extra weight is a big problem.
Welcome back to the Voice of Oceanside. We have a passion for pets on this show. Dorothy, we were in the middle of a discussion on resources that are available to people with pets on the issue of spaying and neutering. We talked about the SNAP program, which is a mobile program. And now you're going to tell us about another option, which is the Department of Animal Services.
Yes, the Department of Animal Services has a program. This is a County of San Diego Department of Animal Services. They handle at least 70% of the shelter animals in San Diego County. They have what is called a veterinarian subsidized spay-neuter program. And anyone in the county can be involved with that program. They have vets who agree to charge only certain amounts for the spaying and neutering. So if someone wants to spay and neuter and it's an economy factor and they say they don't have the money, then they can contact the County Department of Animal Services, and they will refer them to a vet that is in their particular geographical area. And also the other resource is that sometimes certain vets, because of their commitment to reducing the pet overpopulation, actually offer much lower prices to people who are involved in animal welfare. And many of the rescue groups are given lower prices because they know that those dogs have been saved from being killed in the shelter. One other thing too is that the state mandated in 2001 that all cats and dogs that come out of regular animal shelters should be spayed and neutered. And so this set the trend, and yet it doesn't seem to have sunk in too far to many people that was how many years ago? 12 years ago. So, there's a big problem in terms of the numbers because it relates to kittens. This is now kitten season. Kitten season starts in the spring, just like birds are giving birth to their babies. The cats that are getting pregnant are giving birth to kittens. And if the cat is an outdoor cat and is roaming free outdoors, even if it's what people call in and out cats. What is an in and out cat? Well, maybe they bring them in at night, or maybe they bring them in the day and put them out at night.
I could think of a couple different definitions for in and out cat, but let's stick with the...
Yeah, well, of course they get pregnant if they're not fixed already. And cats have a higher reproductive rate than dogs do. They can even be pregnant when the cat has just delivered kittens. Within 2 weeks afterwards, she can be impregnated again, even while she's nursing. And so what happens with that is that the shelters are right now full of kittens. And during the spring months, more and more kittens come in. And then by summertime, we have a kitten explosion. And as right now, probably in the spring, there's anywhere from 15 to 20 kittens coming in every day. Where did they come from? They could come from trash cans, they could come from boxes outside, they could come from people that tried to find homes for their litter and couldn't, and they bring them into the shelter. And so it's like a steady pipeline of water. It doesn't shut off. and they don't, and cats reproduce faster than the dogs do. So.
I want to just revisit something here. You mentioned about the law that was passed requiring neutering and spaying of animals that pass through the shelter. Mm-hmm. So you can be confident that if you get a pet from a shelter, that's mm-hmm. already been taken care of.
Yes, yes, and your fee for the adoption fee will cover the spaying and neutering. And usually it covers spaying and neutering, and it covers microchipping, and it covers licensing, and maybe vaccines also.
Okay, and is it generally true that a pet you get from a private pet store would not be spayed or neutered? Is that the norm?
Oh, they're not covered by the law, so they would not have to be.
And they're normally not?
I would not think so, no, because most of the time they're puppies and kittens, and so they're not of age to be fixed, although we do spay and neuter pets at 8 weeks. And it used to be 5 or 6 months, but we found out that cats were having kittens at 4 months. Dogs are coming into heat earlier. And so
Oh, no wonder there's so many.
Yeah, no wonder there's so many, yes. And so in all cases where it's the SNAP neuter scooter or the vets that participate in the subsidized program, those animals are fixed when they're 8 weeks old, unless there's something medically wrong where they can't be.
All right, let's talk about the animal shelters now. I understand that as far as San Diego goes, there's 2 main options.
They're not options. They are set up to handle the animal control contracts. Animal control contracts are primarily for the safety of the people. And so those contracts originate in a geographical location. For example, we in Oceanside were at one time served by the Humane Society, which also was an SPCA, that means Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. It is not the American Society for the Cruelty to Animals, but it means that they have an animal control contract, and the animal control contract in Oceanside has been for years and years contracts between Vista and the city and Oceanside and the city. They handle those 2 animal control contracts. They also, being a humane society, they can also accept donations. That is not the shelter that when 3 years ago now, the North County Humane Society and SPCA was taken over by the San Diego Department or San Diego Humane Society, and the San Diego Humane Society and SPCA also was awarded the Oceanside and Vista contract. In Escondido has a contract not only for the city of Escondido, but they have contracts with San Marcos and with Poway, and they are also a humane society. Now there are other humane societies, like Rancho Costa Humane Society, that do not have animal contracts at all. If within the state, anywhere in the state, if there is no city that is contracting for animal control, then it would go to the organization that was animal control only.
So while there's 2 organizations, in any given geography, there's only one governmental organization that addresses this issue.
No, yes, the issue of animal control, yes, and the animal control contracts. For example, Camp Pendleton Animal Shelter has what is called open adoption. That means that anyone from the public can go in and adopt animals, but they only have animal control services for the base, for Pendleton. I like to think that animal control officers have gotten a bad rep. They are the people that collect animals for quote unquote the pound, but they are heroes in terms of what they have to do. They have to go into unbearable situations to rescue animals and to see that they investigate cases, and then the case gets delayed in the courts for a while, and they're just a voice for the voiceless, and we have to look at that. They're outstanding men and women who risk their lives in some of the situations because of the safety issues, and they give the animals a voice. Now there are other organizations that have shelters, Friends of Cats, National Cat Protection Society, and the Feral Cat Coalition is an organization that helps you learn to trap cats, and it's called TNR, Trap, Neuter, Release. If you are a caregiver and you're willing to take care of the animals that are maybe in your backyard, you can feed them, you can trap them, you can get them fixed, and then that colony will pretty much remain stable. And the Feral Cat Coalition does at least one, sometimes two major spay-neuter clinics every year where they bring in a number of vets into a facility, and they can spay as many as 300 to 400 cats in one day.
Well, that's an interesting approach. So that turns people who are part of the solution into a bigger part of the solution. I mean, if you're taking care of a stray cat, you think you're doing good. But on the other hand, if you don't get them fixed,
that's right.
You're creating the problem, another problem for yourself or for someone else.
Absolutely.
So,
and it's not fair that they have to be out there reproducing. They didn't ask for it, and so it's an easy solution. Spaying and neutering is an easy solution to pet overpopulation. In fact, when you talk about adopting a pet is an option, but spay and neuter is the real fix.
You know, we've got about a minute left, and as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to do 2 shows, so we haven't covered the whole issue. But I'd like you to give a quick recap on what people can do to make this situation better.
Number one is to be aware of the situation. Be aware that it's not similar to human reproduction. We have 1 or 2 children over a period of 20 years, perhaps. But we're reproducing generations of animals multiple times every year, and multiple animals in each one of those generations that turn around and reproduce again. So be aware and realize that you can't look at it the same way as reproduction in humans. And secondly, definitely support the efforts and support the community efforts to adopt the animals, to get them fixed, to make other people aware of it. My answering machine has a message that people get tired of, and it simply says that they spay and neuter your pet, and tell others to do the same thing.
Well, we'll have to end this show on that.
Okay.
I look forward to our other show with you.
All right.
Thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I'd like to also thank all of the people that helped me gather the material to talk to you about.
And thank you for watching this Voice of Oceanside. Remember, this and all the other voices are available for viewing on demand at KOCT.org. Thanks for watching.